ladies and gentlemen. I know it's been a while since I've done something voiced. Do not be alarmed by this odd uh, interface here. This is the Steam Big Picture, which I'm using just for this recording. And I thought we could do a little news segment today, and this might be something that I continue doing if the feedback is positive, if you guys enjoy it, where basically we go over the weekly news that Eugen drops, and I'll just go through it piece by piece and maybe give a couple of my thoughts on it. So obviously, Oudinot just dropped. Awesome update, and with that came the trait system. And Eugen mentioned that, you know, people enjoy the trait system, which is good because I also very much enjoy the traits. I think it adds a lot of depth to the game. Now, they say that Warsaw Pact nations have no units with the military police trait. Now, to give some background, I'm a graduate student and I'm studying Warsaw Pact and NATO military history, order of battle, TOA, and stuff like that. And so I actually have found this similar thing in my own research. So it's interesting that Eugen's come across the same thing. Um, but these like traffic control, rear security, you know, they don't really show up as they say in a divisional TOE. But the reason for that is that a lot of the frontline divisions wouldn't need that much military police support. There's three categories of Soviet divisions, like A, B, and C, and they were like the A divisions were always kept at like 75% readiness, got the newest equipment, were always near the front. B category divisions, had less good equipment, 50% manning, and C divisions only had like 15, 20% of their personnel, but the personnel were all the officers and everything else. So the idea was those would be filled with conscripts at some point, right? When mobilization happened. They had the oldest equipment. So I'm hoping we get to see some more Category C type Soviet divisions. But with those C divisions, which don't exist before the war, technically, you would have a lot more military police. You'd have military police to take prisoners of war. There'd be a lot of NATO prisoners of war, presumably, in an actual war scenario, and those conscripts would need something similar to like what you see in Steel Division 2 with NKVD units. Like they need military police to make them fight in some cases, especially with the Warsaw Pact client states, like Poland, East Germany, Czechoslovakia. Maybe not as much East Germany, but especially Czechoslovakia and Poland would need that support. But they did include the Komentura, or commandant's service troops, right? So very excited to see Eugene's introducing a new model of the Jeep, which looks awesome. So very cool. East Germans will get Militär Strefa squads, very cool. We saw the GSR trait come out. You've probably seen my SAS recon use them in my gameplays, and so it's cool to see that the GSR is going to go out to the nations that need them. And Eugen did not want their own French to be left without one, so we're getting a new recon infantry unit for GSR, and excited to see the sniper teams. I cannot say, I do not think I'll be using sniper teams. Unless they're like 10 points or less, I don't see myself using them because, I mean, their main role for me, I use tanks to counter machine guns, like snipers would counter crew-served weapons, like mortars, machine guns, and anti-tank guided weapons. So I feel like that's what the sniper is meant to counter, so they have to be really cheap. Um, and personally, I would use tanks to counter machine guns. I use tanks to counter AGTMs, but I might use snipers to fight AGTMs depending on if they're cheap enough. But with two men, they can be one shot, like they open fire, right? Enemy gets a shot off. I tell them to retreat. Before they're out of range, the enemy's going to get another shot off. So they don't seem very viable to me just because of how weak they are, but I'll have to, and any bombing run, any mortar strike that's by accident in an active area will kill them. So, I'll have to see how these pan out in game. I'm excited for them to be added, don't get me wrong. I love seeing the units fleshed out, the table of organization and equipment fleshed out. I absolutely love seeing it. I just probably won't be using sniper teams myself. Now I got the unit traits, and this is a big deal here because, so right, they say they've been well received, um, but they are doing an electronic warfare rework. This is something that's been requested back since the War Game Red Dragon days. And one of the big Wargame Red Dragon mods, Ashes or something like that, actually implemented aircraft like the Raven having proper jamming capabilities, as in like it affects radar units in the vicinity, as they say, and inflicts accuracy penalties, even if not targeting them directly. So the EF-111 Raven would lose its two SEAD missiles, and it would open up the AA defense net, rendering it more infective. I don't think they used the word right there against the following bomber raids. So I think that's very cool. You would have a mix of So what they're doing is they're separating SEAD and DAD, because SEAD is suppression of enemy air defense, and DAD is destruction of enemy air defense. And Eugens kind of use SEAD when they mean DAD, so it's cool to see those separated properly. Although SEAD is the overarching category, so it's not totally wrong, but it's cool to see those separated out. This will open up a whole new meta for air combat, especially strikes on the ground. Even if you're running, let's say 4 F-15 Eagles, you could send out an EW aircraft ahead to jam enemies so that your fighters could kill enemy fighters. You know what I mean? This could be used for air superiority or ground attack. So again, it's going to add a whole new meta to that system, and maybe some divisions will only get SEAD and some will only get DAD capabilities. It's important to make them work together, because having those two together would be really strong. Um, so I love how it deepens the meta and adds more coordination between all the combat arms, and obviously makes it more realistic. Um, I'm gonna have to learn this. This is gonna be a learning curve for me, because when you fly a plane over, it's gonna be hard to see how much they're jamming. It's gonna be hard to tell if they're actually stopping them or not. So I might not run this, any jamming. I might only run uh, DAD missions instead of SEAD, because at least I can see it has a demonstrable effect. But we'll see. If it's like it cuts the accuracy in half of any A unit, then obviously they're worth using. Could be hard to tell though. So I'll have to wait for this to get in the game and see how it kind of plays out. They did mention EW helicopters. This is the E60A and MI8 PPA. These are so exciting because, again, this is a kind of a tactical niche that you're not going to find in any other war game, where you do have helicopters that are specialized for electronic warfare. So them adding this in is great because it adds more depth to the decks and overall heightens the realism. So this whole rework looks amazing. And then you've got jammers, which, so jammers would disrupt recon radar. I assume that means ground recon radar. Um, and reduce their effectiveness to very good. I'm not convinced that this is going to be amazing. Um, I mean, the level from exceptional down to very good is not that much. But then again, it's just a trait. It's not a whole unit by itself. So if a unit comes with a trait, that's great. But I wouldn't buy a unit to be a jammer, because I don't think that this is very considerable difference. Since they're adding this new CAD DAD, rework, I'd love to see, personally, coming up, I'd love to see more engineering content come to the game. I'd love to see bridge layers make an appearance. So if bridges are knocked out, you could lay your own bridges over short rivers. There are lots of bridge laying vehicles in both the Warsaw Pact and NATO. It would also be very, very exciting if we were able to see tanks be able to ford. Certain tanks could attach these like tactical snorkels and go underwater uh, across certain rivers. The reason that Eugen wouldn't add this, I anticipate, is because usually it would take about 6 hours for the tanks to actually be equipped with these. And so, unless you're bringing it onto the field already with the snorkel, it wouldn't really make a lot of sense. But it would be cool nonetheless to see it implemented to some degree. And finally, minefields. I'd love to see mines being laid. A lot of, especially Warsaw Pact helicopters like the MI8 had a capability to have a mine chute where they'd fly and dispense mines behind them into a big, loose, quick and dirty, like rectangular pattern. So, that could be too strong, obviously, if it's just seeding anti-tank mines, and it's, maybe anti-tank mines would do things like blow off tracks, but not be good at taking out whole vehicles sometimes. I don't know how that would work, but I would love to see the introduction of stuff like that. And then, finally, just a quick utility thing, smoke launcher. Very quickly, you can look at your vehicle and say, what comes with smoke, what comes with doesn't, because so many vehicles come with smoke now. Sometimes I'm like having a BDRM retreat or like a BMP retreat, and I'm clicking B and I'm like, oh wait, there's no smoke, and they get knocked out or whatever. You know what I mean? So as they're saying, they'll have an update on the new maps incoming and the new FOB. And sneak peeks into operations, which is very exciting. So overall, I very much look forward to seeing that content come out, especially in FOB, the new city map. I think we're all very excited for. And then finally, over on their YouTube channel, they release shorts all the time, lots of shorts of the new map, and they released what looks like a tactical nuke or a Moab, like a massive or like a massive conventional bomb, basically. So it will be interesting to see. I would love to see tactical nuclear weapons integrated. I think lots of people have been asking for that, you know? You could buy it as an off map, like Steel Division 2 as off map, and maybe it's 1,500 or 2,000 points for a one use off map. You know what I mean? Something very, very strong. And you could drop a tactical nuke onto a position. You know what I mean? If it was 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 points, but had a strong nuke, I think that's a balanced point allocation for the single unit, if that makes sense. So I think that nukes could definitely be integrated and be good. I'm gonna obviously hate them when they hit my lines because it's gonna not. There's no skill. Like you can't avoid it. But if the enemy is saved up, or if you've saved up, I often find myself with huge floating balances. You may as well use a tactical nuke. You know, you may as well try it out. So I think tactical nukes could be implemented very well. Now it's possible it was only an MOAB, like a massive ordnance penetrator bomb, like a massive conventional bomb, but a bomb that big and a small tactical nuke, there's not that much of a difference, so they'd be used in a similar way. So either way, I'd be very excited to see that stuff implemented. Well, that's all for this news segment. Let me know in the comments if you guys enjoyed this, if you guys want to see more of this, or if you'd rather just see more just pure gameplay content. Whenever the new divisions come out, I always try to give you lots of content on the new divisions because everyone wants to see how they work, you know, and then I'll start sprinkling in other content as well a little bit later so it doesn't get worn out. But, you know, we'll have more of the last two divisions coming in for sure. So yeah, just let me know if you guys enjoyed this content. Let me know by liking, let me know by commenting, and I'll see you guys in the next one. This is your host, Starter Share Gaming, signing off.